Have you been wondering what loch style fishing is? In this video, you're going to find out.
Let them lions roar until the elephants align, till all the tamers resign. Let them bodies float among the candid sound of a million beaten drums. I'll just keep waiting till it comes.
Welcome back to another video, everybody. In this video, we're going to be talking about loch style fishing. What is it? How is it different from other methods of stillwater fly fishing? And how do you do it? Loch style fishing has its roots in the UK and Ireland. It has a long history, and I'm not going to dive into that history in this video. It goes all the way back to the 1800s. But in this video, we're going to just look at what is contemporary long line loch style fishing. In its most basic form, loch style fishing is simply fishing from a drifting boat. The boat is set up perpendicular to the wind, so the wind will beat your back and you'll be making casts downwind or out in front of the boat and retrieving back into that drift. I think of loch style fishing as the opposite of trolling. Instead of the boat moving over fish that you're trying to catch, you're casting out in front of the boat and reaching those fish before the boat gets there. If you've already done some stillwater fly fishing, you can use any of the methods that you might be familiar with from other styles of stillwater fishing and still apply them. You're just going to apply them from a drifting boat. Some of these methods might include fishing dry flies, casting and retrieving nymphs or streamers, either with floating or sinking lines, or you can even fish an indicator with nymphs suspended underneath. Really, the only difference in loch style fishing is that you are moving and you're casting downwind. So you need to factor that drift into your retrieves. Most of the time you're going to be retrieving faster than what you would if you were casting and fishing from a stationary boat. Loch style fishing is typically done from a boat, a hard-sided boat that is, but that doesn't mean you can't do it from a float tube or a pontoon boat. And when I first was teaching myself to loch style fish back in 2006 and 2007, all I had was a pontoon boat, and so that's what I taught myself to do it in. The only issue with doing it in those boats is that you just can't move as quickly, so it's going to take longer to go back and set up each subsequent drift that you try. If you live in an area with any wind, which most of us do, one thing you're going to need is a drogue. And a drogue is simply a device that's like an underwater parachute. It catches the water as the boat is drifting along and uses that water to slow your drift down. And that makes it so the boat is moving slower and then you can control your retrieves better even if the wind is blowing quite steadily. There are two main types of drogues. The first one is a rectangular drogue, and this is the type of drogue that's allowed in international competitions. The other type of drogue is a cone-shaped drogue, and you can find these as drift anchors or drift socks if you look to purchase one. Cone drogues are the most readily available in the United States, but I find that they're a lot harder to work with than rectangular drogues. They end up tangling more easily, and sometimes they don't want to set properly without a lot of TLC. We've tried to find a ready source of rectangular drogues for our shop, but they've been hard to source. So we're looking into custom drogues for our shop over the next couple months, and we should have them available for purchase by the spring. Rectangular drogues are easier to deploy and less prone to tangles, and one other extra benefit is that you can leave them in the water when you're motoring to start a new drift. You just have to be careful that you don't run over the drogue or catch the ropes in the prop. If you're struggling with your drogue not setting up or inflating properly, there are a few things you can do. If you have the ends of your drogue ropes clipped to the bow and stern of your boat, you might try moving them closer to the center on your gunwale. I use ratchet clamps to clip them directly to the gunwale of the boat, and they're easy to slide around to reposition as I need. If you look at my boat in this clip, the drogue rope ends are clipped about 6 to 8 feet apart on the gunwale. They are also clipped closer to the stern of the boat. Moving the drogue from one side of the boat to the other will help you steer your drift. Each boat is a bit different, but in my boat, if I put the clamps from my drogue closer to the stern, then my drift will steer towards the bow. The opposite is true. If I put the clamps closer to the bow, then my drift will steer towards the stern. If you're watching this video, you may be wondering, so why should I try loch style fishing then? What really makes it any different from the rest of the stillwater fishing that I've already been doing? There are a few key benefits I find of loch style fishing. The first one is that you're always covering new fish and new water. Just like in a river, the first time that a fish sees your flies, the more likely it is to take them. Loch style fishing also helps you cover a lot of the still water that you're fishing. So you can find areas that have a lot of fish, and then you can come back and drift through them again. It is a very active method of stillwater fishing, and it makes it a lot more engaging for me than just sitting stationary. For me, it's a lot like floating a river in a drift boat and being able to constantly cover new water that's downstream. If your interest is piqued, keep watching the rest of this video, and I'll show you some footage from a recent day of stillwater fishing that Connor and I had. And while you're at it, please go and subscribe to our channel. Hit that little bell icon so that you get a notification when we post new videos. Please give us a thumbs up as well, and come on over to tacticalflyfisher.com and see our store. There's my first tiger of the day. And sadly all the jumps were missed because he pitted himself out before Connor got off. He had fish chasing his flies too, but I know. But it's an interesting washed out tiger here. He doesn't have a lot for color, but that's all right. I'll take him. See you later, buddy. So Mr. Connor here just hooked one on the hang, and I already happen to have one in the net that I just landed. So far, a fast retrieve, despite the cold water, just rip, 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 rip.
I sped that one up a lot.
Yep, that's when he ate. And I've got a type 4 SA line on, and he's got a fast glass, or a fast intermediate line on, and that's a tiger, it looks like. So, you know, we're in 8 feet of water, not super deep, and the fish are probably kind of spread throughout. It's been more the retrieve than anything that's been important. See you later, Mr. T. Gray. And the reason why I think the fast retrieve's been important is look at all this wind. It's pretty choppy out here. We've got a sustained 15-mile-an-hour wind with gusts into the mid to high 20s, and that's leading to them wanting to take quick. And a lot of times when the water temperature is 40 degrees like it is right now, they don't really want it quick, but under that heavy chop, they're more than willing to grab it that way. I've done much. I haven't had nearly as many grabs so far on slow retrieves, so we'll keep at it. pretty much bumps, at least on every cast now. Aren't hooking all of them. And a lot of times with the quicker strip like that, you're not going to get all of them because some of them are going to nip at it. But you're generating interest and still getting them. What'd that guy eat? A polar humongous. Huge surprise. Not. Smile for the camera fish. Yeah, porker. Short but stout. Another. Get another. And another. And another.
I shall.
Do not stop until you have satiated your fish catching.
Impossible.
Impossible, he says.
Here all day.
Oh yeah. Didn't take during the retrieve, but he did on the hang. And another little cutthroat here. Smaller than the first couple cutthroats. See you later, buddy. There we go. So on that one, my hands are cold enough with the cold water that I was having a hard time keeping up with really quick short strips and not losing the line. So I went to a roly-poly, but short jerky roly-poly instead of continuous and smooth. And let's see what we got here. Looks like it's back on that black and chartreuse zonker. Nice rainbow. Cold water jump. Yeah, porky fish. Well, Connor's got one, and so do I. We've caught fish pretty much every cast, or at least had grabs every cast for, I don't know, the last 10 minutes. It's been a pretty crazy period of fishing. This lake has been fun. Another nice rainbow for both of us. Go ahead and get them gone. Woo! Started to get real western. But it hasn't stopped the fish from eating. Connor and I got another double here, and it's still been pretty much every cast. Let's go through just a quick sequence of what I'm doing here. I put on a type 3 line. I make my long cast. I'm hand twisting for about 5 to 10 seconds just to let the flies fall. A lot of times on that drop is what I call it. The fish will take it. If they don't, start your retrieve. And a lot of times, a couple strips after that, they'll eat. And then while the wind has been lower and the water cold this morning, we've kind of done a little bit of an intermittent hand twist, hand twist, hand twist, punctuated by quick strips. And they'll come lock up after those quick strips. But the hang right here, I've got this thread marker on my fly, or on my fly line. And when that hits my hand, I stop my retrieve. And I lift those flies really slowly to the top. And we've caught a lot of fish on the hang so far today. The wind just picked up, so I'm just gonna rip this one in. You'll also notice my rod tip is down on or in the water. I want that rod tip directly pointed. There we go, there's a fish. I want that rod tip directly pointed. Ah, he just got off. pointed at my flies, because that gives me the most direct inline connection to them. So if a fish takes, I'm a lot more likely to feel it if I've got my rod tip low than if my rod tip is up in the air like this and I have a big belly with a bunch of slack. That belly and slack ends up cushioning that take, and a lot of times you just won't even feel that the fish is there. And despite the cold temperatures, I mean, the water when we got here yesterday was 40.5 degrees, and this morning it's 39.8 on the finder right now. Despite those cold temperatures, with the chop here, the fish want it pretty quick. They are willing to chase still when the surface is choppy. If the water was a lot calmer, I would probably either choose a different technique like a midge tip, where I could hang my flies and retrieve them slow, or just an intermediate. But in general, I would also just retrieve slower. I tend to mirror my retrieve speed with the wind speed and go faster when the wind is faster and slower when the wind is slower. And that rainbow didn't mind a fast retrieve. Keep hitting right at that junction where I can't really strip set and I can't really hang. I think maybe I'll try hanging a little earlier or something. When the hang marker's halfway through the rod, or I'll just do that.
Lions roar until the elephants are